Okay, it's 6:31, so let's get started. Everyone, please rise for the flag.
Oops, sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Julie, could you call the roll, please?
Sure can. Committee Member Shell,
Here.
Committee Member Middlestad,
Here.
Committee Member Huber,
Here.
Committee Member McMorris,
Here.
and Chair Gordon.
Can somebody call a motion to excuse our Chair Gordon for this month?
I
Want to do that?
move
Okay.
to excuse our chair for the month of November.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Chair Gordon is excused. Are there any late changes to the agenda?
No late changes.
Okay. All right, next is to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Does anyone have any comments about the minutes? Okay.
Yeah, I read through them and they seem correct to me, so I move that the minutes from the meeting, October 13th, 2025 be approved.
Okay. Can I second it? Or does somebody else have to? You can second it. Okay, I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty. Now we come to the public comment section. Would anyone like to speak? Is that where you're gonna talk, or?
He's gonna fall under number 2 on the agenda.
Okay. Anyone online would like to give any comments?
Doesn't look like anyone is online to give a public comment.
Okay. All right, then on to the first order of business.
Awesome. So I do have a progress update. Well, I guess I need your progress update. Julie, could you pull up the PDF for us? So Kelly did put together some designs, and I briefly looked at them, and I think they look pretty cool to start with. Oh, not that one. The other one. Yeah, sorry. I'm looking at that. I'm like, where's the image? It's the other one. The fun one. There you go. So do you want to talk about your thought process on each one of those, Kelly, or?
Sure. So I just made a sketch of our ideas for the roundabout from our last meeting, where we talked about using a laser cut silhouette of a farmer. And the city council said that they wanted the agricultural element to be larger. And so here I drew it as pretty large. This is not to scale, it's just a concept. So I have a few different versions. There's this one, and then can you go to the next slide? So this is the same thing, but it doesn't have the text at the bottom. And then the next slide. This was a little tricky for me to draw, so I hope it's getting across. But there's two ways that we could have the silhouette. One is to have it going along the curve of the exterior wall of the roundabout. And one would be to have it going straight across, just flat. I'm honestly not sure which one would be better, and it might make a big difference to whoever the manufacturer of the silhouette might be. But I just wanted to visualize this for the committee because it's kind of a difficult thing to describe. So can we go to the next slide? And this was another idea, I think Kathleen brought this one up, of to have a silhouette of a barn. And you could do both. You could do the barn on one side and the farmer on the other side, something that we can discuss. And we could, like, with the input from all of this historical information, we could, adjust the design of the barn to more accurately reflect barns that have been in the area. Once I sketched this up, I really liked the way it turned out because it almost looks like a ghost to me. It reminds me of like the ghost of the structures that used to be in the area and they now have been replaced. And it's almost like a little melancholy in that way, but I liked it for that reason. It's different and meaningful to the area, that specific area, I think. So I just put these together to help us make sure that we're all visualizing the same thing that we've been talking about recently. That's it.
I think they're awesome.
Thank you.
And I think that's very profound, the ghosts of barns that used to be. Very cool. It kind of gave me goosebumps, in all honesty. It's really cool. So what do you all think of that, of these proposed designs?
Is it representative of scale? I think it isn't too large, right? The roundabout?
What do you mean? Is the roundabout too large?
No, I mean like if the cutout is, like if the person was person size, and you crafted that, would it roughly, is it roughly that scale?
It's hard for me to
Yeah.
say, I'm not really good at like visualizing measurements,
I think it's pretty, what is it?
I
It's
like
a
the
small
one with the
roundabout,
versions,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a smaller roundabout. I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head, but we could get them.
Yeah, it's very small.
You could get the dimensions and then calculate how big the image would be if it took up like roughly 2/3 of the diameter. Is that the right word? Because that's kind of what
Or diameter.
diameter, I think, because that's what I was going for. It's like it takes up roughly 2/3 of like the front. But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
I liked your idea to have both, to have the barn on one side and this on the other.
Oh, here, let's turn your mic
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry. It's hard to tell if it's
Yeah.
on. No? Is it on?
Okay, now it's
Oh,
on.
okay, thank you. Anyway, I do like the idea of having both. I like the wording, I thought that was very nicely stated. The roundabout, I took a look at it the other day, and there's so many access points for various, who knows what. They're very large, metal and/or cement areas that need to be accessed. I think it's going to be difficult to get the trees in and the bushes in too. But I like the idea of what you placed here. So I would think it would be necessary to ensure it gets in there to be bordering the actual wall. I don't think you can do that with the barn per se, but one of them I think should be curved because there's so little space for plants. So I think the idea of having the curve there is an excellent one. And I think that the juxtaposition of the two is very nice.
What do others think about the text on it? Does everybody like that?
Yeah, I like it.
I do too.
And my initial reaction on the barn was that seemed a little bit tall for just the proportions of it. I like the design, looks neat. I guess I'm just wondering if, structurally, if it's gonna stand up well.
Yeah, that's true. It would be pretty tall.
Yeah. But then again, it's not necessary, maybe it's not necessary to have something that large, because you're just not doing it to scale, because we don't know what the scale would be. So perhaps if they're smaller, then that would be some, and depending on what the material is, if it's metal, it's thick enough, it could certainly stand.
And I'm sure that the structural engineers could figure out.
Yeah,
that.
some, but it's a good point. I do think visually, knowing the size of the thing, these are too big. But again, I don't have that expertise. But I really like it. I really think you did a wonderful job in depicting both.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's here for us to be able to, you know, visualize it a little bit more.
What do you all think about the flat versus the curved?
Oh, I think the barn it would have to be flat, but I like the curve, the nature of the curve with the plow and the horse. And I do think it would fit better in there because that's a very wide thing, and this is rather narrow, small roundabout. So depending on the size of the actual design elements, then the curve would be easier.
Yeah, the
To
curve
place.
would probably not be that pronounced in
Yeah.
the real thing. It would probably be slightly less curved, depending on how large the cutout is.
Mm-hmm.
And were you thinking life size, or are they, or is it
I'd say probably life size or maybe a little smaller.
Kind of scaled just to fit in whatever space, whatever works in that space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't really have a strong preference over the curved versus the straight. With the curved one, it would create more space behind it for plantings. Although with the straight one, you could still get plantings in front of it, and that might look kind of cool to have some grasses or some type of plantings kind of coming up, low level grasses or plantings in front of it.
Do we have a photograph of that roundabout so you can see all the various things that would be in there? And I noticed in all the other roundabouts, they have the signage that on poles. So I'm wondering, is this roundabout going to have similar signage?
So all the signs should already be up at the intersection.
Okay, so those wouldn't be moved or nothing added.
Mm-mm.
I think to make a final decision on whether it should be straight or round, we'd really have to see a photograph of that roundabout to see what else is there,
Okay.
to make sure it could go, because I really love this. I think it's just wonderful.
I don't have an actual picture ready to show you, but I can see if it's on Google Maps. One quick second. Julie, can I ask a point of order? Can we intermix business items 1 and 2 so that Carson can share some of his thoughts on barns and whatnot? Or do we need to conclude one before we move to the? Okay. Okay. We can do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So unfortunately, the street view on Google Maps does not show the roundabout, only the aerial. But if the aerial would help, I can bring my laptop up. Or, I don't know, Julie, can you pull it up? Is that doable?
Well, Kathleen is right that there are a lot of little utility boxes in the roundabout, which isn't very big to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
So it could be a problem if the art was flat and cutting across the roundabout. It could intersect with some of those utility boxes. So we could recommend that if possible, it be curved so that it can really sit right behind the wall and wait to see if the, what do you call it when someone does the metal work? The metal worker? Fabricator, that's the word, thank you. If they can pull that off. If they can make the thing curved along the same curvature as the roundabout. And
Keep going
if they can't, then you know, see what they recommend.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Yeah, it's teensy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, your
Yeah.
street view had it, mine did not when I dropped my little guy.
Oops.
So then the signage too comes into play, and,
That's true.
yeah, I was concerned about that.
Is there a knee wall? Is that what I was hearing now?
Not right now, there isn't.
Oh, okay.
One
there
will
would be.
likely be
Yeah.
added, yeah.
Boy, that is just tiny, isn't it?
I kind of like the barn because you could make it clearly scaled down
Yeah.
and you see through it, and so you could see the plantings behind it.
Yeah, I think it would be possible to make it so it's not so tall. If we could find a barn design that's maybe just like a little longer, a little wider, and then we could shorten it down, and it won't look too like a dinky little thing, you know.
Right.
It would still take up a good amount of visual space. We just have to look at some barn designs.
Yeah.
Does everyone think it would be weird if the barn was curved?
Well, I think the question with the barn is, I'm not sure when you look at this photograph, where that concrete pad is, would the barn go behind that? Maybe, or would that impact where the landscape is? So it's a very tight place, so it's
Yeah,
going
it's
to be,
very
you know, whatever gonna measure for that, it needs to be carefully done by a landscaper, I think, to really look at this and ascertain dimensions that possibly could work. And then again, I don't know how uniform they want the placement is. Do they want the placement, if you did the in honoring Ridgefield, does that have to be centered? If it does, it might run into this sign. So everything has to be looked at carefully, to really make that work.
But I think it would be possible.
Oh, I do too. I just think that the logistics, the actual design of it has to be very, very carefully done. I think the curve would probably, like if you did do a barn, it might work fine here in the center area. I don't know. You know, the plow and the horse is nice too. I mean, could that be outlined, or would that look awkward? That might look too awkward.
It might work. Well, I think if we think it's possible and it wouldn't be overly burdensome to make a design like this work, then I think we should move forward with this. Or do we all think that would just be too much of a lift for this small space?
Well, I think what I would suggest doing is maybe we could give both of your schematics to a landscape architect. That's typically what our process is we come up with some type of design, then we hand it over to the professionals and they work it in to see how it works. I mean, we could give both of them to the landscape architects and just have them, you know, play with it and see what they can come up with.
Okay.
How is this going to impact your, the idea with the trees and all the discussions we had about plants last month? When you look at this as well? Or do you just want to wait and see, maybe have the landscape architect take a look at it all, see what they think?
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be holistic, where they'd look at the plants and the artwork as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, we decided not to go with the really big trees idea, which probably would have been too much,
Yeah.
all too
Right.
much. Yeah. So I drew the picture with the idea of like medium trees, you know, in mind. Something that wouldn't be so big that it would crowd the art.
So the focus here then is definitely the artwork. We want to make sure that stands out. And that the landscaping around it complements the artwork. I mean, is that the direction we really want to go forward with? It sounds that way to me.
I don't think it has to be like either or.
Oh,
That they
okay.
should.
Oh,
that
have
they
to
should work
together.
they should work
Definitely
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the, you know, the sheet metal, or, I don't know, not sheet metal, but metal art, that it's thin enough that, you know, you can work the landscape in with it, and it wouldn't be, and you could scale it down so it wouldn't be overbearing. You know, so you could have, you know, both things complement each other.
All right, so what do we need to decide for this?
So if you're comfortable with what Kelly drew up, we can go ahead and give that to Steve Stewart to provide to council to look at. And then I did talk to Jane. She and I were emailing back and forth. She is the landscape architect who put together the plant plan. And I asked her to pause for just a moment until we knew what was going to happen with the artwork. So do you, at this point in time, it sounds like you're wanting to find a way to potentially do both a barn as well as the plow in person? Am I hearing that correctly? Or are you thinking one or the other?
Either or?
Either or? Okay,
Take a
not
look at it
both.
all.
Yeah.
We don't want both, is that correct?
Could be. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, it could be both, or maybe, I mean, I'd like, I mean, my idea would be to have her, you know, present these, our Kelly's concepts to her and say, you know, what can you do with these to make them work in this roundabout?
Okay, that sounds good. So what I can do is I can go ahead and send these to Jane first and ask her to sketch some things up. And then once we get those back, then depending on what you all decide, then we can give it to Steve to present to council. Sound good?
And she definitely will take into consideration the placement of all these electrical outlets and whatever else is there.
We
when
can ask her to.
She's placing that in her designs.
Oh, so it will be the conceptual design that she would do. And then once we were actually ready to get everything fabricated, that's when we would take into account where to put the footings for the artwork itself.
okay.
Okay.
Can I ask about the print? Where were we thinking to put that
You mean the text?
text, yeah? Like, one time we talked about maybe using the knee wall, but then there was maybe some concern about doing that, so I was curious if there was a leading idea.
It could either go on the knee wall or it could be part of the artwork, like on the first sketch that I did.
I liked it as part of the artwork, just my own preference. I
No,
mean,
it flows better that
It
way.
also does lift it up a little bit higher, since the knee wall is just a few feet off the ground.
Yep, all right, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. So I will go ahead and send those over to Jane with some descriptions on what the thought process is, and then we'll see what her time frame is to get them back to us. Sound
Okay.
good?
And I'd like to thank our artist.
Yes, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. All right, does that mean, are we ready to move on to business point number 2? Okay.
All right. So this topic is a little bit twofold. So first, I would like Carson, who's joining us tonight, to talk a little bit about the historical design motifs that he came up with. Carson, could I ask you to go to the podium and use the microphone? Cool. Thank you.
Are there additional handouts? I don't see, they didn't get one. Okay, great.
Somehow printed the perfect one. All right. So just speak into the mic and, okay. Well, I didn't really know anything, no parameters. I didn't know if you guys were working on roundabouts tabula rasa. I didn't have any sense of scale, so that might actually nullify some of these ideas. I didn't know how many roundabouts the Roundabout Committee was looking at. So it sounds like you're really looking at that one. Okay. And then the design elements are already sort of evolved to a sense where you have a sense of what you want, which is great. So really what I would say, so a lot of these were just brainstorms of potentially future roundabouts, if there are any, I guess. The first one being sort of a transportation motif. What built Ridgefield were really the waterways before the advent of the interstate and railways. So I had the idea that it could be cool to have, the Indian canoe evolving into the steamships and ferries that would take people, farmers really, down to the Vancouver waterfront to shop, because there was basically no road to get down there and 3 farms in between from here to Vancouver. They would use ferries and steamships instead. And even some of the kids on Lake River would take motorboats as school buses to get them to school for a couple of generations until they got the railways and the roads. And so it could go from canoe to boat to rail to automobile. But the next one was sort of a tree thing, but it looks like we may not have space for that, but you can look at that later. Really, the third one, though, this was my original thought when Beth mentioned this, being that our family is trying to restore a 100-year-old Gothic arch barn down there on Carty Road right now. It's still in great shape. They really did build these things to last. And I found this quote from the postmaster in 1909 when Ridgefield was incorporated, where he calls the city the garden spot of creation, and really the agrarian heritage is probably what you want to lean into. In that, I really liked what you said, the recent wave of growth, for better, for worse, that's what's disappearing first and foremost. So that's what really Ridgefield was for basically 150 years, was farms. And so my first thought was basically in line with what you were saying, Kelly, was to have a scale model of one of these heritage barns in the middle. My thought originally was, and this is the third one here, is to have some sort of craftsman, a master maker, basically replicate one of these heritage barns to scale using the original materials, almost like a model maker. And I like your idea of also having sort of the metal look there. It's probably more economical anyway and would stand up to the elements. But to have a scale model of one of those Gothic or Dutch gambrel style barns, actually, I think there's 2 of those on the historic register in Ridgefield, the National Historic Register. There's 2 heritage barns, Dutch gambrel style, and that's on the next page. There's actually a photo of one. But what happens is so many of these are on private property that the public never actually gets to see them or interact with them unless they're driving by. So I think that would be sort of one way to preserve that rural heritage, is to bring that, what the ancient, the ancestors and the farming sort of inhabitants would have seen riding their buggies and wagons and then automobiles down the road, were these barn rooftop skyline. And then the idea being that you could surround it with sort of the heritage crops of the area, the potato blossoms or fruit trees. It doesn't look like you may have room for that, but the native grasses. Yeah, you can look at the rest. I may not go through it here, and being that you guys are already sort of down the road in development. But in the future, there's just some other ideas you can look into for potentially other roundabouts. I've been doing a bit of research on sort of the Lambert area, which is south of here 3 miles, and they used to call that Germantown because of all the German families that sort of were the pioneer residents there, and the schoolhouse there that's now a food pantry on 11th was built by these families. It's also on the National Historic Register, so I thought, if not a barn, then maybe a school bell or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much what the input I had. I really do like the design ideas there, and I think anything that nods to that agricultural past, I think would do justice to the people who built Ridgefield into what it was, and what it is. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the time that you took to put this together and all of the thought that went into it as well. I'm sure we have more roundabouts to do in the future,
Like I'm
and
saying,
so.
if you have future plans, there may be some ideas in here, but yeah, I really do like the one you guys already have mocked up. It aligned immediately with my first thought, which was they should get a barn in there somehow, and some of the heritage plants that they would have grown on the old sort of agricultural plots around the area. Probably can't get a plum tree, but that would have been a big one. Potato flowers, I don't know if that's something that can grow year round, or if people would even want to look at that, but it beats parking a U-Haul or a U-Haul trailer or a big potato or a statue of Lewis and Clark, that type of thing is kind of overdone, so I think definitely what you guys have laid out is a good way forward, so.
I think this is very to the point of what we were looking for, to have that kind of information and data to reference as we move forward. It's really helpful. I really appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely, and again, if you're looking for specific silhouettes, I would recommend either the Gothic style, which is a curved roof, really gorgeous. They use these laminated boards that they would order from Sears Roebuck on trains, and all the community would come together and help them raise them whenever a new family moved in. So that's the Gothic style, that's a curved roof, or the Dutch gambrel style is the photo on page 3, which is just sort of a more standard look, but,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's a great way forward, what you have laid out there. And for what it's worth, I think you guys were talking about curved versus flat. I think just from a pedestrian standpoint, just from someone who drives around, you might get more visual real estate for someone to appreciate if it is curved as they're driving around. It wouldn't be sort of you wait till you're in a specific point to see it. It would sort of evolve as they go to a sense. So that's my 2 cents of input.
That's a good point.
Excellent.
All right, is there anything more for business point number 2?
Yes, the other component to that is that we did get approval to go ahead and put the history of roundabouts on the website. We have, fortunately, Julie had a lot of history available. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start drafting up things. However, since I have not been here that long, I don't have as much history as you all do. So if I send it out, do you guys mind adding your detail to it that you feel is important and pertinent to know? Okay, excellent. Does that make sense, Kelly?
You noticed my confused
I
look.
did, yes.
So, I mean, the history of the roundabouts in Ridgefield?
Yes,
Okay. Because we've only been doing this for like a year.
yes. So
Okay.
there's not that many, well, so it's 35th and Pioneer, Royal and, well, it'll be Royal and Wells, and then we have the Grapes for a couple of the others.
That's
Isn't-
true.
Isn't there another one?
The roundabout at
There's gonna be one at
45th and Pioneer, that's
Yep.
been here for over 25 years.
Okay, so we can find the history on that one too, to put it in. But yeah, basically chronologically of all of the roundabouts and what the inspiration was
Okay. So
for
even
the
though some of them are not complete yet? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have goals.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did that help clarify?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So is
yes,
that it
so-
for number 2?
Yes, it sure is.
Okay. So moving on to business point number 3.
Awesome. Julie, would you pull up that document for me? So, the last two meetings, we started this document, and I was curious as to whether or not there was anything else that you wanted to add to it prior to us drafting it up formally for complete review. The comments in red were the ones that were added last meeting. And what this document is, it's about the design approach and the thought process that the team and the committee has put into how they have gone about the roundabout designs for each one.
I had a couple comments on the landscaping part. I did actually go back and find one of the old documents that I have in my files. I don't know if I don't remember if I made it up or what, but a couple of other thoughts that I found was, we had talked in the past about a forest, natural forest floor approach for the plantings.
That's right, we did.
Yeah. So that's maybe something that we want to put in there. And we also talked about having a wide diversity of natural plantings or native plantings.
Could you help clarify, Tim? Are you talking in variety, height, all of the above, textures, or was it?
With wide
Any
diversity, I mean, I don't know, what did we mean by that? You know, I think that my sense is it meant to be, you know, not just a couple of different types of native plantings, but a diverse portfolio of plantings.
Okay, like the broad spectrum of
Yeah.
everything that could
Yeah.
be found in the area. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that broad spectrum probably is better, more descriptive.
Were we trying to mix evergreen and deciduous, or was there a assertion on that once upon a time?
I don't think that's something we've really talked about. Evergreen versus deciduous. I think our focus has mostly been on choosing native species and whatever is going to work as far as like the size in the roundabouts and what can take the heat of being in a roundabout and roots, one that doesn't have a root system that's going to be disruptive. You know, that only leaves us with probably a pretty small selection of trees. I guess those are probably some things we should have in the document, huh?
Just captured it.
Thank you.
Do you all want it to incorporate anything about, you know, deciduous trees, evergreens, anything like that? Because you can definitely incorporate it, even if it wasn't necessarily specified previously. If it's something you would like to have in there as a consideration for the approach.
What about the term seasonal? So we have seasonal interest, perhaps, I don't know. So native plants, that would encompass that, because, you know, depending on when they bloom or not bloom, or,
Everyone
I
good
don't know,
with
that
that?
would cover
Okay.
what you were thinking about somewhat.
Oh, no, I was just thinking about having a footprint, a shape that would maintain over the year. So the deciduous losing leaves and the shape changes. But I think the point that there's a lot of constraint on what's possible is probably the bigger driver, so.
I think I recall discussions, though, when we have had the landscaper here, about the various shrubs, plants, trees, etc., and what they look at during different seasons. You know, is it a twig or what is happening, which relates to the forest floor type of interest. So perhaps seasonal would be more appropriate, I'm not sure.
You mean year-round interest?
Year-round, yes, seasonal, well, seasonal year-round, yes.
Yeah, I like that. That's possible.
It's hard to say, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments?
I guess one thought that I have is, when we're talking about deciduous or the other kind,
Evergreen.
evergreen, thank you. So, from a maintenance standpoint, we wouldn't want to have a tree that had a lot of leaves or stuff that would fall on the pavement that they would have to get out there and spend a lot of time cleaning up. It's only one time a year, I suppose, but just wondering if that should be a consideration.
Yeah, there's, I think it was maybe, I can't remember his name, but in one of the meetings, a guy who was in charge of maintenance.
Kelly?
Yeah, he was in here and he was talking a little bit about that, and I think one concern he had was like trees that don't break easily in windstorms or fall down easily in windstorms was one thing that he mentioned, because then that's something that they have to clean up.
And he was concerned about access, ease of access to anything they need. Entry points that are easy so that they can move around and do what they do need to do, but also access anything they need to do, access. So that's another consideration I recall that they had. I think that he was a little concerned about the public's sentiment to a very, for want of a better word, untidy natural look, that he might get complaints about that, because it would look, why aren't you doing your job? Because some people are more used to more formal plantings, and that's not what we're doing here. That's why I think the website's nice, the fact that it's not formal, that knowledge will be out there, so that the general public will then understand that. But he mentioned that too, that they might get a few people complaining if the bush just looks terrible at some point. I don't know. But, we have seasons, so there's that.
So how would we wrap that up into our guidelines here?
Well, we could, for landscaping, we could say that access, the landscape design needs to allow for access to the center of the roundabout for maintenance workers.
Maintenance access, okay.
Maintenance access, yeah. And also space around any utility boxes so that they can access those as well. So maybe that's how it could be phrased. Landscaping design should allow for maintenance access. As far as the plant design, where Heather really emphasizes the natural look, allowing plants to grow the way they would in nature and very densely and not pruning them too much, is kind of like on one end of a spectrum versus the really manicured and tidy landscaping look. And hopefully we can find something that makes everybody happy in the middle. I'm not sure how to do that though. It might just be a talented landscaper might have some advice on what plants to choose, Like some native plants have like a nice tidy round appearance and other ones definitely don't. And that could be something that a landscaper could advise us on. So yeah, I'm not really sure how to phrase that one.
So, yeah, there it is.
Oh,
So
yeah, there
we
it
did
is.
have some maintenance standards. I'm not
Cool.
sure why it wasn't in that first draft that we had. That was weird. I think my computer is glitching. But yeah, so we had worked towards a forest floor concept where leaves and decaying plant matter are allowed to stay in place and break down. Minimal blowing, no annual application of bark dust in between plants, allow them to fill in naturally, shade out weeds, so on and so forth. Maintain ease of access for water, sewer, and utilities, and then plants strong to survive weather events. So we can also put in there ease of access to maintain what does need to be maintained.
I was wondering what demonstration of progress throughout the city, what is that reference? I'm a little confused of that statement.
Yeah, what we were talking about there was that kind of what Carson had mentioned, that we started out as very agricultural and then we grew into a different, a
okay.
small town, and then it's grown larger, and now is where we are today.
Okay, thank you.
I can clarify that a little bit so it's not confusing.
That idea is on the very last page of this. There's a whole motif sort of reminiscent of that idea. I included a Ridgefield yearbook excerpt from 1921, where this, I assume a high school student, Alden Potter, is basically reflecting on how Ridgefield is finally becoming a town that does things after years of being basically a provincial backwater. They've got, a port that's sort of bringing in more business, where they're shipping out bushels of potatoes and prunes, and they're becoming a town. He says the sweet essence of prosperity is spreading over the surrounding country, and she's no longer hiding her great natural resources. She's blossoming out. I thought that could be interesting. You could take extracts from that somehow and build that in. But also the idea that after he said that, what's ironic is that then you basically had decades of stagnant growth where Ridgefield actually didn't grow relative to the other areas in Clark County and elsewhere, until really 2 decades ago when it really started to skyrocket with all the suburbanization. So now it's sort of like this cyclical idea for a 100-year cycle of 1921, 2020s. Now it's booming, obviously. There's growth everywhere. And so it's this idea where you could invoke sort of, I said here, you could invoke sort of a tiered evolution of Ridgefield's prosperity and growth, where you start with the 1921 and build up to symbols of today or whatever. But it correlated with what you were talking about, so I thought I would point in why I included the excerpt of the yearbook there.
Thank you for that. I like how this person says Ridgefield has lost her old cranks and worshippers of ancient ideas.
Yeah.
Thank God those old cranks are gone.
Oh, they come and go.
Sometimes I'm cranky.
Okay, well, it kind of seems like we're adding to this design approach document a little bit more every meeting. Do you think, is that okay? Or do we have is there a goal that we're trying to meet with this design document? Or is it just something that's kind of reflecting the evolution of our roundabout committee?
So from my perspective, you do have 2 team members who are eligible to rotate off. And so my suggestion would be to try to capture it as much as possible before they leave. Since you, I believe, are all the original crew, or no?
Just Kelly and I.
Oh, okay.
And Heather.
And Heather.
Heather, right.
Okay. Okay. So maybe we can go ahead and I'll draft it up more formally than what we have here, and I'll send that out to everyone. And you all can review it and comment on it, and then our next meeting, we can discuss whether or not we're ready to finalize without putting any pressure on. If we need to still make additional edits after that, we totally can. And we can make it a living document as well, so that you can continue to edit as time goes on.
And so the point of finalizing it would be so that we have something to present to future committee members?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that was your original intent in the thought process behind it. I believe it was August or September meeting that Heather had brought it up.
Yeah, I think so.
September, maybe. So if that's still the path you all want to go down, we're good with that.
Yeah, I think it's looking great.
Okay. Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Is the lighting changing in here? Or is it?
The lights in there go on and off.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're motion activated.
Okay. So I think we're gonna move on to staff reports. Do we have any reports from the staff? No?
So I do have two somewhat simple ones. First one is tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so city offices will be closed, and there is a ceremony. It's at Overlook Park, right? Yeah, and I believe at 11 a.m. Thank you, Julie. And then also, we have on the schedule with ACI for the contractor to install the roundabout art. They are going to be pouring foundations next week, and then after Thanksgiving, they will actually be installing the artwork itself
Wonderful.
in the 50th roundabout. So
When will the landscape go in?
it's in progress right now.
Oh, it is?
Boulders
Okay,
have been placed.
I just saw the boulders, but.
Yep, boulders have been placed. They are in the process of composting. And if you happen to look up North Pioneer Canyon Drive, if you happen to go up there and look down kind of where the road is still closed, it is like a nursery out there of all the plants that they are going to be planting on Pioneer. So it actually looks really cool. So they're making progress.
Wonderful.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you have any updates on the roundabout by Costco?
Yes, so we have done an inventory on the plants. We are currently waiting for a cost estimate from the contractor to go ahead and pull those out and then raise the vegetation, raise the soil levels up, and then replant vegetation.
Are they planning to put some logs in there too?
Yes, logs and boulders.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
both. I think we have 5 logs planned and 10 or 11 boulders.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Be a naturescape.
it will be. That's the goal, and to be able to see it above the knee wall.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any news on the other one with the design or?
I don't have any specific news on that. Oh, but you do remind me, I did talk to Lee, not Naris, about working with the Ridgefield Arts. My brain is failing me what their actual title is.
The Art Association?
Art Association, thank you, Kelly. And incorporating them into some of your designs as well. So in the future, projects that come your way, we can coordinate with them and see if they can do some artwork installations as well. Okay? Did the email go to everybody about the donations as well? It might have just been Heather and I emailing back and forth. So there is a mechanism currently in place to where people can donate specifically to artwork. And it is through Ridgefield itself, and right now it's capped at $25,000. And Ridgefield is currently looking at other options to be able to increase those amounts as well. Nothing is in place yet, but there is a mechanism up to $25,000 currently. Okay. I think that's all the updates I have now at this point.
Okay. Are there any reports from the committee members? other than everything we already talked about. No? Okay. All right then, I guess this meeting is adjourned. Thank you everybody for your time.